So whereas before you had several different groups, now they're being lumped together as trans. And I like to demystify that according to what I see. Hello, welcome to Introspection with Jeff. This is a channel to understand and empower yourself. I deal in substance. I want you to empower yourself every day. I like to offer my insight into current gender issues. So there's this woman I know. We've been friends, but I don't want to reveal too much about her. I want to keep her privacy. But I do want to talk about something about her daughter that actually inspired this video. She mentioned that her daughter was questioning whether she was attracted to men or to women. So whereas before you had several different groups, now they're being lumped together as trans. And I like to demystify that according to what I see. So let's break this down. I see two types. The first type being cross-dressers, and the second type being those who are more focused on identity, their own sense of identity, and their sexual orientation. Speaking of cross-dressing, I see myself as a straight cross-dresser, which does match what I've heard about. I think the statistic is 75% of cross-dressers are straight. I personally see this as a target, a kind of target. I know myself. I'm very visually attracted to the opposite sex, and I think what's at play is that it's kind of reversed. It's kind of a fascination with the opposite sex as well as an attraction to it. Now we move to gender and orientation. I think back to my friend's daughter. I wish I could, I wish I could talk more with my friend about maybe what's going on with her daughter. I'm very flattered that she wanted to have me meet her daughter. I think it shows a lot of respect towards me from her, and a lot of confidence, and I'm just very flattered. I don't know what's going on, but I hope she's watching this video, and if she is, I think there's confusion between men and women, our conceptions of what a man should be and what a woman should be, roles in society and so forth. And while I think there are certain ingrained things ingrained things in men and women, I think there's been a lot of societal conditioning, and hopefully that can change. I think that's part of the confusion. I grew up with only a mother, so growing up, I didn't have much confusion about what it is to be a man, and what it is to be a woman. I think there are biological differences. Clearly there are biological differences, but I think, okay, here's my view of what a man is. A man simply is someone who I guess we're speaking about instincts, right? A man's instinct is to take charge, to have enormous strength. I mean, enormous strength. Not, I've heard that men are stronger physically on average to women. Um, and there's an enormous responsibility that men feel, that I don't, I think women's experiences are different. I think women have other obligations and other societal pressures. Um, but I think whereas women um, have others to help them out instinctively, I think men feel an enormous response, kind of like Atlas, the Greek god Atlas, an enormous responsibility that it's up to them. Um, and that's where their enormous strength comes in. Um, I should go into that further, but what I'm saying basically is that although there are societal pressures, that that men, growing up, I think men and women are basically alike in many ways. Um, but I think, especially decades ago, I think women were perceived as more homebodies, and it's almost disgusting. Their, makeup and certain pigeonholing, that women go towards Barbie dolls and men should be with GI Joe, and you can't cross switch. And I think that's an over exaggeration. Having said that, I think there are certain instinctive differences between men and women. There's a theory I talked about called dramatica. It was actually co-developed by someone named Melanie Ann Phillips. She's been pretty open about having had sexual reassignment surgery. She used to, well, I don't know if I should go into that. She has been pretty open. I was almost about to mention her earlier name, but maybe I guess I shouldn't. Suffice it to say, she she learned a lot through hormones and her experiences undergoing the surgery, which informed her about this certain aspect, well, dramatica in general, but specifically about what it calls problem solving style. Um, Now it's called problem solving style, and the two possible options are linear and holistic. Before that, it went by men and women. Originally, it was, do you think like, does the main character in the movie or story think like a man or think like a woman? It was then changed for various reasons. Melanie herself explaining that there was too much controversy about it, so they decided to change it from um, man or woman to logical or emotional. And while it sort of described it, it's misleading because women, as mentioned in the analysis sessions, there's a female logic, there's a feminine logic, and there's a masculine emotionality. So basically, what it is that linear means that you problem solve from point to point to point, and that's how you resolve problems. Resolve problems. Whereas a woman in this theory thinks more holistically. Um, how do I rearrange the space? How do I rearrange these relationships to come out the way I want them to? One thing that she said that's been so controversial is that the difference between whether you think like a man, you think linearly or you think holistically, primarily, is determined in the womb, whether you receive more estrogen or more testosterone. While undergoing hormones, she noticed one morning that when she was reaching for her toothpaste, that rather than reaching for the lines, the shape of the toothpaste, she was actually reaching for the colors of the toothpaste. And that, to me, jives with women being more distinctive about the color schemes in general. Men tend to say cut and dry, black or white, brown, black, pink, purple, green, whereas women may, on average, women tend to be more specific about the colors, the tones, fuchsia and dark green and navy blue, stuff like that. Now, what would happen to you if you took estrogen later in life? One YouTuber noticed that when she switched from a man to a woman, taking more estrogen, that her sexual orientation actually changed. She became more attracted to men. I don't know what to make of this. It's anecdotal, of course, but it's intriguing. I was watching a Sally Jessy Raphael clip on YouTube about, well, she was interviewing someone named Toby who was asexual. Now that gets into a lot of controversy. That aired in sometime in the 1980s, possibly 1991, something like that. Now people identify as non-binary and trans and asexual and so forth. It becomes, in my opinion, becomes very mixed. It becomes very confused as to what you're talking about. But this person was actually born without either, well, with aspects of either gender. Now, there's something called intersex, which is a biological, excuse the expression, if I can say it, deformity. Actually, intersex. I know people now label themselves as intersex when they really don't mean biologically intersexed. They mean kind of non-binary. It all gets mixed up. I want in this video to kind of clear things up. But okay, so intersex means that you have aspects of both sexes, some male parts and some female parts. This person, it's on television, so I guess it was delicate. It was all delicately put, but I shouldn't even say she. Toby was actually asexual. Toby talked about not really feeling a connection between men or women. She felt, I'm sorry, excuse me, she felt more of a connection with you'll have to bear with me. Toby felt more connection with a pet dog than feeling a romantic connection between either man or woman. I hope that we can delineate and learn to demystify these different terms: gay, effeminate, trans, non-binary, to get beyond the lexicon and to actually identify what's going on, what's motivated, what are the differences between these, what are the differences actually going on in us. One YouTuber has fascinated me. Shapeshifter has talked about experiencing feeling effeminate naturally. Shapeshifter had been, is an effeminate person, and he went to therapy and decided, kind of, he would probably say, perhaps be coerced into getting gender reassignment surgery. Now he still identifies as a man, I believe. If I believe I have that correctly. Even though he's pretty passable as a woman, and as I said, he's effeminate. He said he likes makeup and dressing up and so forth. So that's an interesting case. I mean, Shapeshifter has an interesting experience where even through surgery, it didn't change the orientation. I'm sorry, it didn't change. He kept his orientation. He seems to be attracted to men, but he still retained his sense of identity as a man. So that's why personally, I think that in the brain there are two distinct things, and we confuse them. I think one aspect is identity, your own personal identity. In this case, Shapeshifter kept his own sense of masculinity. And the other aspect in the brain that I think is going on is sexual orientation. That he had been an effeminate man and been attracted to men. That didn't change. The body changed. His physical body changed through the surgery, but his mind, his brain stayed the same. So he's spoken out against this trend of therapists convincing people that this is a panacea, that gender reassignment surgery will make you conform if you're a homosexual or gay. If you become a woman, that it will change you. The missing part of that is that in Shapeshifter's case, you don't change your sense of identity. You would still, at least in Shapeshifter's case, maybe a lot of others, you would retain the sense of being a man, and in that sense, body dysmorphia and gender dysmorphia doesn't go away. In fact, it would become hyper. It would become more so. Why can't we let those that don't conform to specific gender norms just be themselves? I think there would be a lot less confusion, a lot less pressure to get sex reassignment surgery, give them more time to think through and just be themselves. So a man doesn't quite conform to what society thinks of as masculine. So a woman, doesn't necessarily seem very feminine. I think we should let the pressure off, and I think people would be happier. I think the controversy over, first of all, over gender reassignment surgery would go down. I think that the question about men being in women's bathrooms and going into women's spaces would go down. Hopefully it would go down. and we can honestly actually talk to each other. I know, in worldwide, I know that there are some countries and cultures that favor um, favor surgery, gender reassignment surgery over homosexuality or lesbianism. Um, I know Shapeshifter has talked about this before. That um, well, I don't want to name any cultures in particular, um, but I think it would be it would be easier on all of us. Now, I didn't have a problem between straight or gay. Perhaps that's because I grew up at a time when it was becoming more understandable. People were understanding it more, being more compassionate and open. But in terms of my own experience, um, I grew up straight. I knew I was straight, but I simply looked inward. I looked inward and thought that, okay, this is an effeminate man. I mean, thinking of other people, I saw, looking inward, I knew I'm straight, and straight doesn't have anything necessarily to do with your own personality other than orientation. So, and I had a childhood friend in school who I may be very, I guess I was very blind when it comes to orientation or effeminacy. Um, Now I know I've seen television and I've seen movies, and um, I know when they ham it up, and some character is very effeminate. Of course, I can see that. But I had a friend in school, all the way up through high school. Um, it turned out later, and we would go to each other's houses. Mainly, I would go to his house. Um, and the thought that, what I discovered later, him being attracted to men, never occurred to me at all. Um, but it didn't change. Um, I, I, when I come across like a gay man, I simply understand that in all other respects, that man is a man. And the only difference is that I'm attracted to women and he would be attracted to other men. Probably similar romantic feelings, similar desires and hopes and dreams. And I hope that as a society, again, I hope as a society, we we can understand that, we can see that in each other, that sexual orientation may be the only difference. Um, about this current zeitgeist, about gender affirming or gender conforming surgery, I'd like to give my own viewpoints. I feel that um, many of them, certain cases, are really a form of autogynephilia. I've questioned whether to label myself as autogynephilia, having autogynephilia, simply because when it was termed amongst a population of prison inmates, and I don't know if the term actually. I'll tell you what's going on with me. Um, I am straight. I'm attracted to women. However, I'm very visually oriented and very kind of over sexually attracted to women. So, and there are other aspects too. But I think, I feel that in my case, in many cases of autogynephilia, that it's kind of it's a reverse targeting, whether where you're so attracted to the opposite sex that you want to feel what the opposite sex feels. I've also talked about wanting to feel certain experiences in other aspects. I have a mermaid tail. I still haven't swum in it. Um, but I have certain fetishes, I guess certain experiences I'd like to have. Um, and I feel that this goes along with that, that I feel almost as much as I want to um, have relations, romantic and physical relations with women, that I also want to feel what it's like to be a woman. Um, and I think that's what's going on in many cases, that someone can become confused. I like to think of myself as very aware of himself. In my estimation, it's not. It's not a panacea. You would still have body dysmorphia in many, not all, but I suspect, I feel that in many cases, you would still have that body dysmorphia. So my way, early on in childhood, my way of resolving this was to simply cross-dress, to learn more about it, to become better at it. It's been quite a challenge. I've gotten some good I've gotten some good compliments. What do you think? Drop down below if you want to. Um, and with that said, um, I'll leave it at that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd like to leave you with these final words. If your reality doesn't match what you're experiencing, please find your hand in the universe. I wish you a pleasant and comforting day.